on Twitter. Sorry, on Twitter. So, welcome to another episode of This Week in U.S. Politics. This will be episode number 15. And, sorry, trying to close everything down that doesn't need to be open right now and make sure everything's running like it's supposed to. Because that's the way things go. So, let's see. This week we had Roseanne get fired from ABC for her tweets over Memorial Day weekend. Uh, we also have Trump saying that he's going to go um, back to the meeting with North Korea and whatnot. So, well, I just don't even know what to talk about these days anymore. So much is thrown at you in a week. It's hard to just pick a couple topics here. Um, keyboard. Um, really had a great time this weekend with a lot of different podcasts, or not even podcasts, streams. Um, Jared Buteau, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. He puts on a weekly uh, military hangout now. His first episode was yesterday, and it went for about 3 hours or so, almost 3.5, 3:45, somewhere in there. And yeah, pretty pretty good. Um, oh, YouTube is sounding horrible. That's weird. I'm just pulling up my chat too. Didn't have everything set up in time. Chat. Wonder why that is. Well, I'm going to change my microphone setting then. I changed it. Don't worry. I'm live. Thank you. I got somebody, I changed my microphone setting. How does that sound? So, all right. That was my wife and interrupting me. For those of you that are watching on the stream, could see me pointing off in the direction, and those listening to on the radio, on the internet radio and the podcast, you won't know where I'm pointing or talking to, but it was my wife, and yeah. Anyways, yeah, I had a problem with my audition, so I'm recording this with Audacity. So it's always good to have a couple different recording softwares handy just in case as well. So with what I was trying to do, that is really now it's just starting to bug me about the about the YouTube setting, but I'll figure it out later. All right, so I saw while I was at work this week, and haven't been able to look at a paper or anything since, but the Washington State Solicitor General is requested that the state of Washington Supreme Court take up the case about um, the AP's case against the state legislature, saying that they're not um, applicable to the same um, rules that the executive branch and other offices are, as far as release of information and freedom of information um, out to the greater public. So I thought that was an interesting point that the state Supreme Court actually um, that the state Supreme Court actually is enjoying. Let's see here. Blah blah. State Supreme Court is actually having them bypass the Court of Appeals. So it's one of those interesting cases here. I can see you. I can see your responses there. All right. So let me go back to what I was trying to find is the article. You would think that, typing in a search for a specific article and you can't find it. So maybe if I go to maybe the News Tribune will have it. I mean, you'd think the Olympian would have it, but obviously it doesn't. Go to come on now. Well, the beauty of this setup though is that now I can actually have the I can actually have this going and mute my microphone without having to worry about it coming through the system. So, all right, let's go down here. Let's see. It's just been a long weekend for me. Interesting article that I saw today too while looking for this was the state of California is banning state-funded travel to Oklahoma because of Oklahoma's policies concerning discriminatory practices towards LGBTQ community. Um, the article is basically stating that the state of California is not going to allow government-funded travel to and from the state of California on state money for for this because Oklahoma has passed um, laws or policies um, that allow that basically allow private adoption and foster agencies to deny placements based upon religious or moral grounds. The Attorney General um, of California, Xavier Becerra, I hope I'm pronouncing that even close to right, is basically saying that that it goes against same-sex couples or LGBTQ parents, and that Oklahoma's Catholic bishops do support the law. The decision is based upon a 2017 California law that bans state-funded or state-sponsored travel to states that authorize discrimination based upon sexual orientation or gender identity. California already bars official travel to Texas, Alabama, South Dakota, Kentucky, North Carolina, Kansas, Mississippi, and Texas. Collegiate California sports teams still have to attend games in those states. So, I guess that's paid for out of the alumni fund, I guess, at that point. But it was just a funny little article that I saw here that, California being California, whereas, a military, friend of mine on YouTube here, Lord Crocker Squirrel would say it's California. I don't know if I go that far, but I can understand his point of view. And let's see here, trying to find the article that I want. I doubt I'll even find it on here. Sorry about my voice. It is scratchy with allergies and whatnot. Venezuela is freeing more opposition prisoners to the government in order to unite the nation. Why not take a look at a little bit of world politics, even though this is the U.S. politics? I find it rather funny that people want to support Venezuelan communism, basically, to um, say that's the kind of government we need here, but I won't buy it for a minute. In Caracas, Venezuela, the government has freed dozens more Venezuelan opposition activists from jail Saturday, bringing the amount to almost 80 to the number of prisoners whose released authorities hope will unite a fractured nation. Among the 40 people released were two stupid ads, lawmakers, one of whom has been held allegedly since 2014 for allegedly inciting violence in protests that year. The son of a former defense minister for the late Hugo Chavez was also let go. President Nicolas Maduro said after being reelected on May 20th in a contested victory that the chief among his conciliatory measures would be freeing anti-government activists considered political prisoners by the opposition. Friday, he released 39, and authorities say more could take place over the next week. I don't know how much of the Venezuelan um, issues you've been following, but I find it rather odd that we don't discuss it more in our own news, especially with the way that we discuss things like how people treat each other via the social justice movements and whatnot. And I'm not trying to be derogatory when using the term social justice. It's just one of those things where where it just seems to be that's the future that we're going to tend to go down the road if we allow such things to happen. But at the same time, we we've got a balance between the right of freedom of speech and the right of protecting people's feelings, to protect them from having hurt feelings. It's different to be oppressed, and there's a big difference between being oppressed and being subjugated to forced to be listen to somebody about something. It's entirely another thing, though, to um, to allow people to be silenced just because you disagree with them. For those of you that don't know, there's a Brit here in the U.S. This for I think this week and maybe a little longer. Goes by the handle on YouTube as Sargon of Akkad. He was I don't know if this video I watched last night was from the US or if it was from a previous um, UK tour that he was doing. But one of his events was protest against and subsequently had fire alarms pulled in the middle of actually even before he started his his speech or anything. That's not freedom of speech. Just because you don't like what he has to say, just because you don't like what he's going to talk about, doesn't mean that he's wrong, and it also doesn't mean that you have to actually be there. You can just go about your merry business and just ignore it. That's your choice, but you don't but the thing is people don't see it that way. It is one of those things. But I'll be interested to see how that happens for the rest of this week in this tour that he's doing here in the US. I wish I could be there for it, but, it is what it is. But anyways, going back to Venezuela. It started out as a socialist movement and slowly evolved into communism. Then we got dictatorships. And then with the passing of Hugo Chavez, I think that was the last leader's name, uh, you get President Maduro in involved. And he really cracked down on the press and opposition. And almost every election he's won since, again, election being a key word in quotes, he it's always been contested. It's always been an issue. Now I don't feel that it is one of those that we should be ignoring here in the US. But but it's just one of those things that we have to watch for as our as our nation decides to go in a more potentially socialist path. I don't agree with all the socialist rhetoric out there, even though I did support Bernie in the primaries. I do have a issue with going too far to the extreme of socialism. Um, as a matter of fact, I took this and I shared it with Dave. I know he took it and we had a little conversation about it. But let's see, did I put it in or did I save it? Don't know where I saved it to. Ah, here we go. Let me open this up. I'm going to share this with you. This is a photo, basically a screen grab of a political chart, a two-dimensional political chart that how do I want to put it? That asks you questions and and they are pretty much just it's a simple straight answer. There's no middle ground. There's no gray area for you to see there. But I honestly think that it is the I honestly think that it is the where did it go? Is it not going to let me see it? Maybe if I do that first and then go over here. No? Well, let's stop that then. Let's try that again. Pull that up. Treasure on the screen. Anyways, it's from politicalcompass.org. And I really think it's a really great tool. It's a good starter point to see where you are politically, how you would align yourself. But, okay, normally I won't do this, but share screen. So here you go. You got your basic right and left, Democrats, Republicans, fascists, Nazis, etc., communism, etc. You got your more authoritarian and your more libertarian. And as you can see, I fit right in this area. I honestly don't see anything wrong with that. I think it's a nice, healthy dose of, being a liberal. Dave, if he wants to share his, he can share his. I don't have it saved on my computer, but I know where he was on the plot. And so, but it's just one of those things, check it out. It's a free test, politicalcompass.org. But, and they do not sponsor me, by the way, if you were even thinking about that. It's just one of those I really think people should check out and try. All right. Still trying to find that article that I wanted to look for, but just can't seem to find it. And yeah, whatever. What I look for when I'm doing this show is mainly when I'm at work, is I'm looking at the papers, the headlines of the week, both locally and nationally. And I'm trying to find stuff, but at the same time, trying to trust the newspaper for my headlines doesn't work out entirely. And trying to go to other news sources can be hit or miss, like going to Politico. Oh, I can't even spell today. For something on a national story could still be one of those very biased pieces because, it's just very hard for people to not write with a bias. Even when you know you're writing with a bias, it can be hard to do that. Oh, well, here's a nice little article in healthcare on Politico. Big tobacco versus San Francisco in vaping vote. Voters will decide whether to ban flavored tobacco products that are appealing to teens. A major tobacco company is pouring millions of dollars into a ballot initiative that would repeal the country's strongest effort yet to ban the sale of flavored tobaccos which are attracting a whole new generation of users, including children and teens. The $12 million campaign, primarily funded by the R.J. Reynolds, is urging San Francisco voters next Tuesday to reject the city's ban on selling flavored vape products, hookah tobacco, and menthol cigarettes. The flavored tobacco comes in brightly colored packaging and tastes like bubble gum. Now this is the vaping juice and stuff. Bubblegum, mango, chicken and waffles, and other flavors, which health which public health advocates are designed to entice young people. Now, if I remember hearing correctly, um, for Washington State, along with weed, pot, marijuana, whatever you want to call it, we actually have it so you can't buy certain things unless you're 21. So hopefully that will be hopefully that could be a case. So all right, come on now. So it's interesting. Yeah, kids. All right, let's see here. Oh, ooh, here's one for those of you that are in the Olympia area and also Grace Harbor. Grace Harbor Transit is increasing its trips to Olympia, expanding its service, which is good. But this is the one that piqued my mind here for the South Sound area. And forced neighbors to be his chore, quote, slaves, end quote, and wouldn't let them leave, Washington cops say. Oh, come on now. Avocados from Mexico. Gotta love ads, don't you? A 12-year-old Centralia boy disappeared Wednesday morning, and before he made it home, a neighbor turned the boy and his family into yard work slaves, police said. The boy was supposed to be starting his mother's car before school when he went missing, police said. When the family began looking for him before 8 a.m., the mother and her two other children, 13 and 15, quickly discovered their missing 12-year-old in the neighbor's yard, which belonged to Wellington Wagner, 29, according to police. But the boy hadn't gone of his own volition, police said. Wagner had instructed the boy to, quote, come here, end quote, grab him, grab the hesitant child by the coat, forcibly moving the boy into Wagner's yard, the family said, and then where Wagner that's where Wagner struck the boy in the face and made him do chores like sweeping, the Lewis County Daily Chronicle reports. Basically, he had the kids start cleaning up his yard for him, Commander Pat Fitzgerald's Centralia Police Department said. Once the family got to Wagner's yard, the mother and siblings tried to explain that the boy needed to go to school. Fitzgerald said that it didn't go well. He wasn't making any sense to anybody. Wagner insisted the family needed the boy's help, that he needed the boy's help. Wow. And then forced the other family members. I mean, seriously, just reading the story is just appalling. How could anybody let this happen to anybody? You know, where was the mom with her cell phone? I mean, you hear stories all the time about how people have their cell phones on them all the time. But, it is what it is. So, let's see here. So, as I was saying, Wagner's all right. So they knew what they. Let's see. Sorry, and then forced the other family members to help in the yard work as well, telling them that now they knew what it was like to be slaves. I'd be interested to see a picture of this guy. The chores told the chores the family told the police were forced to include piling firewood, picking up garbage. KCPQ reports the family describes Wagner as a huge and intimidating, the police said. Even when the Even when the family explained that the boy had a test and that he was going to miss, Wagner wasn't willing to lose his yard workers. "You got a test? or quote, "He's got a test," end quote, Wagner responded according to Fitzgerald. "Well, let's all do the Pledge of Allegiance." The family did the Pledge of Allegiance, police said. "They were trying to appease him long enough to get an opportunity to get away," said Fitzgerald. After about hour of forced labor, the man walked across the street, the family said, giving the 13-year-old girl a chance to call police. It also gave them all an opportunity. Wagner was arrested on Wednesday without incident around 8 a.m. He was charged Thursday with malicious harassment, unlawful imprisonment, and fourth-degree assault. He's being held without bail in the Lewis County Jail, according to jail records. But why not just flee a rogue neighbor earlier? Wagner is 6 feet tall, 9 inches, and weighs 250 pounds, according to police. The family told the police that they were worried if they tried to run, Wagner would chase them, police said. He is kind of an intimidating guy, Fitzgerald said, adding Wagner is no stranger to the local police department. It has taken 5 police officers to get him in custody before. So, yeah, that's that goes without saying. I mean, like I said, how do we let this happen in our society? How do we where are the other neighbors, talking about this? You know, it's it is just crazy. Here's one for people more. Wow, I can't believe I'm just rambling about headlines today. But this one I actually think is really good too for us all. More women are taking aim at the glass ceiling in the campaigns for Washington legislature. After her 1998 election victory, Washington State Representative Ruth Kagi headed to Olympia as part of history. About 41% of lawmakers in the Capitol during the next 2 years were women, the highest for any state legislature in the nation's history. Washington only broke one glass ceiling to hit another. Since then, the female state lawmakers, uh, number, state fem- number of female state lawmakers have fluctuated, never again reaching those highs. Kagi and other current and former women lawmakers are in both parties suspect fewer efforts were made to get women to run for office. For the legislature as a whole, I think we didn't do a good job of recruiting, Kagi said. There's definitely a lot of energy for women running now. And I have no problem with women in government. I have no problem with women running for office at all. More power to more people. I mean, what's wrong with that? The I mean, I can't even come up with one bad reason unless the person is absolutely not competent enough to do the job. And how do you define competency in running for state office? Well, it's pretty much knowing what your responsibility is in the legislature, whether you're a senator or a representative. Same thing goes for Congress. But the problem we run into in all of these issues is the lobbyists. Sorry about that, but the problem we're going to run into is the lobbyists. Is really just how do we how do we get by this? How do we get around this? So what we need is more strong, independent people. Now you can be a part of a party and still be independent. What I mean is don't tout to the lobbyists. If we get enough people in there that could change that just don't accept the lobbyist money, it'd be better. But the problem is can't get in office without money, so it's kind of a win-lose situation. But honestly, the more women we could have in government, the better. If nothing else, to provide experiences that male lawmakers don't have. You know, it's one thing for a lawmaker to sit there and say, you know, abortion is evil, abortion is this, that, or the other thing. But it's gotta we gotta have the discussion from the women, what about their rights to self-preservation? What if they're high risk, um, what if they're a high risk, um, pregnancy, etc., things like that. Um, birth control. What business do I have, even in my own wife's use or lack of use of any birth control? I mean, I would feel appreciative if she discussed it with me, but it doesn't mean that she has to. Um, you know, maternity pay. I mean, honestly, I think as one of the most developed nations in the country, we lack on a lot of our social issues, you know, healthcare, maternity leave. I mean, we've got one of the shortest maternity leaves, if not the shortest maternity leave in the first world. We have, in my opinion, the worst healthcare system in the world, short of being a third world country. So, it's one of those it, it's just one of those things. When it comes to when it comes to political issues, the more people we can have in there, the better. The more that we can have people helping out. So, let's see here. Um, Kagan's comments came one night last week as she stood among more than 75 people in the North Seattle Community Center at the campaign kickoff of Lauren Davis. Kagi, who is retiring, helped recruit Davis to run for her seat. Davis, a 31-year-old Shoreline resident and executive director of the Washington Recovery Alliance, is among what appears to be a record number of women candidates. She is roughly one of 105 women running for the state House and Senate in the August 7th top two primary, the most to file in at least a generation, perhaps in state history. Those legislative candidates join a record number of women running for other offices here in Washington State and across the nation. There is a link in the story here. So, and like I said, this is one of those things would help out best if we could. Um, it'd help out best if we could get more of these people involved, more of these women, more anybody. I mean, to represent even your community here in the state, you should not have to have a lot of money to be able to run for those offices. You should not have to do any, you shouldn't have to do a whole lot of that. But I guess, that's what they think is that, you know, money solves everything, but it doesn't. So, why you may be experiencing sticker shock at Amazon, don't really care. Russell Wilson and his wife are trying to bring Major League Baseball to Portland. Don't know how to feel about that, but it's all good. Let's see here. Just did we miss the duck dash this weekend? That sucks. All right. Well, let's move on to something else. Let's go to another state. I've already done California. Let's take a look what's going on in Oregon. I think that's the right site. Oh, what's the first thing that pops up on here? Oh, this is just lovely. Take a look at the red banner there. That's the first thing that pops up. Well, I guess the ad technically does, but it is one of those things that oh, Antifa and Patriot Prayer plan opposition demonstration Sunday in downtown Portland. If you had plans to go to Portland, stay away. This is from yesterday. It's when they posted and updated it. Dueling demonstrations are planned Sunday in downtown Portland, marking what could become the first large street protest of the spring. The rallies are likely to draw hundreds to a pair of parks near City Hall, organizers said, including black-clad anti-fascists known as Antifa and their right-wing antagonists in the Make America Great Again hats. It all could go down within a few blocks of the family-friendly Rose Festival taking place on the waterfront throughout the weekend. The showdown comes a year after thousands converged to protest a pro-President Donald Trump rally thrown shortly after the fatal stabbing aboard a MAX train left the city reeling from the racially motivated attack. The chaotic scene on June 4th, 2017 was further inflamed by Portland police, which corralled and detained hundreds of demonstrators by using a controversial tactic known as kettling. With tensions tempered, organizers anticipating fewer participants and potential conflict than last year. We're coming with a we are coming with a peaceful message, said Jenny Nicholas, an organizer of the Direct Action Alliance and Empower Portland. The two groups will hold an anti-police brutality rally in Chapman Square beginning at 2 p.m. The event aims to draw attention to Portland Police Bureau's response to last year's demonstrations, and which an independent auditor criticized in a report this week, having having no legal justification. Afterward, left-leaning activists plan to spill across the street to Terry Shrunk Plaza in anticipation of members of the right-wing group Patriot Prayer, who have planned a 5 p.m. follow-up to its Trump rally last June. Patriot Prayer leader Joey Gibson has billed the gathering as a freedom march to celebrate group member Tusitala Tiny Tosi, who is moving away from the Pacific Northwest. Tusi, who's 6'3" and 300 pounds, has regularly brawled with anti-fascist activists at rallies and was arrested twice by the police in Portland last year during protests. Previous Patriot Prayer rallies in the Portland area have been criticized for attracting members of the far-right fringe, including outspoken anti-Semites and Islamophobes, white nationalists, and neo-Nazis. We will not allow the racists and fascists to parade through Portland streets, threatening the activities and targeting at-risk communities, wrote the organizers of the counter-protest, which includes the Rose City Antifa, a prominent anti-fascist group in Portland. Okay, here is my problem with Antifa, and any of my friends that have an issue with this, tough. I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now because I want you to see this. Antifa is a cancer on this country just as much as any neo-Nazi or fascist group is. However, both groups have a right to peaceably assemble and talk out their ideas. You may not like those ideas. You may not care for those ideas, but tough. Just deal with it. They are allowed to speak out. They are allowed to present their ideas. As long as, and I do not have a problem with them, as long as they are not inciting direct violence. Because most people have seen through the course of history what communism and fascism has done to has done to this world, not just this nation, but to this world. And you're going to sit here and tell me that Antifa is a blessing in disguise, a great thing? No. And for those of you that are on the far right on my friends group, tell me that you guys need to go to war against Antifa? No. These groups, you can even include BAM in all this. That's B as boy, A, M as a Mary, N as a Nancy. For those civilians, for the military, Bravo Alpha, Mike November. Stands for by all means necessary. They are a far left group that's just as bad as Antifa, in my opinion. And yet you're going to sit here and tell me that these groups are okay, that these groups are are wonderful. No, they're not. They're just, especially the Antifa, they're just a bunch of cowards that don't want to face the repercussions for their actions. Going back to the news article here really quick. All right. I only had 2 more paragraphs left. Portland police say they are prepared for Sunday, though they concede the challenge they will face with the Rose Festival happening simultaneously. The bureau is going to be spread thin, said Sergeant Chris Bully, a Portland police spokesman. It's a real strain on the limited resources we have. Now, this is where the Oregon Highway Patrol or State Patrol or whatever you want to call them needs to help out. This is where the governor needs to take some action in on this and help provide security. If I was a local security company in the area, I would probably offer up additional security for events to free up police if we could. You know, that just my opinion, just my piece of advice. But honestly, it is one of the few things that I just cannot tolerate is the people praising Antifa and the people who praise the neo Nazis, the white nationalists, and things like that. Yes, both groups are bad, but the less of a voice we give them by listening to them and by acknowledging them, the more likely they're just going to disappear or at least minimize. The thing about an idea is it only hurts you if you give it credence to. And by the way, anybody who says that if an Antifa or a neo-Nazi were to run for office, I don't think they would ever get elected because I don't. But they would not vote for me, and I would be one of the first people in line if they did get elected and they started trying to take my rights away. So don't think that just because you're in a position of power in an office, you can't be that you can get away with things. And like I said, same goes for both sides. Antifa, BAM, any of them. I mean, what I just read a story about earlier in May. Um, one of the one of the lieutenants in BAM, Yvette Yvette Falaka, was trying to get her case dismissed because from her was it 2016 attack on a peaceable supposed white nationalist commenter or commenters, I should say, because there was something going on in Sacramento at the time. She's gotten her. She tried to say that they were oppressing her with by demonstrating, and it's like no, they are entitled to their ability to speak, however common. That doesn't just because you feel oppressed doesn't give you the right to attack somebody. You have to demonstrate that you're actually, oppressed. You have to demonstrate that you were actually harmed. And to be honest, if you came before me and if I was a juror and, somebody said I was abused because I had to listen to them in a public space because I had to endure the words. No, you weren't forced to be there. You chose to be there to counter protest. And then you started to pummel people. I wonder why there's a case against you. So, I mean, it's just one of those things. I could go all day about I could go all day about this stuff, but I'm trying not to. All right. Let's see. Let's go somewhere else. Let's go with North Carolina. Let's see what they got to say. Lives down there. Sure, Raleigh. Might as well. Oh, what's this? Okay, this is a good one. Google apologizes for labeling North Carolina state senator as, quote, a bigot, end quote, in search results. Oh, this is great. Oh, it looks like they're probably owned by the same company as the Olympian and News Tribune, just by the web layout. And where I'm at is actually the News and Observer for Raleigh, North Carolina. Go back to screen share if I can. Jeez. Yep, same ad layout. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the same company. All right. Google has apologized to Republican North Carolina State Senator Trudy Wade for an old photo of her with superimposed words "bigot" in capital red letters that appear on the engine's results related to the senator's name. Here we got this. Yeah. This is a tweet from Colin Campbell, the Raleigh reporter. Yeah, that's pretty hateful. Story published by Vice about the photo, which was then distributed by media aggregator Drudge, prompted the apology from Google on Friday. We apologize to Senator Wade that this image appeared in the knowledge panel in the search, Google said in a tweet. Images that appear in the knowledge panel are either selected from from verified users or automatically sourced from sites across the web. Wow. A knowledge panel is the box that populates on the right-hand side of the screen in a search result. The panel provides an overview of information based on search terms. Wade's photo came from a student news blog, Google said in a tweet. And this is from their Google Communications tweet. In this instance, the image was hosted by a student news blog. Upon being alerted to this issue, we immediately removed it from the knowledge panel. Google removed the photo later on Friday after the Drudge report brought national attention to the story, Wade said in a comment. Although I appreciate Google's belated apology, if I'm being completely honest, it rang a bit hollow, Wade said in a statement. After an aide requested Google take down the photo, Google told the aide to find and contact the original author of the photo, said Wade. Only after the judge posted it to a national audience and it began to go viral on social media did Google do the right thing. Wade is up for re-election in District 27, which includes parts of Greensboro and Guilford County, and is facing Democrat Michael Garrett for a second time. Wade isn't the only Republican to face a bizarre opposition this week. Republicans have been the supermajority in the state House and Senate. The state budget proposal, which passed this week, was mostly written without the input of the Democrats. GOP members wrote the budget. Hey, why does that sound familiar? GOP in control of both the House and Senate writing a budget. I wonder why that sounds so familiar to me. Oh, I know why. Because it's happening at a national level. GOP members wrote the budget behind closed doors, and for the first time in North Carolina's modern history, neither Republicans nor Democrats were able to suggest amendments to the annual budget bill. Democratic Senator Mickey Michelle, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, compared Republicans' tactics while passing the state budget to rape during a press conference Tuesday. Wow. Today we have seen a rape of this budget, Michelle said, and I'm having problems right now trying to reconcile whether I'm in North Carolina or in North Korea. Bit of hyperbole there, don't you think? A nice segue from your defending the owner of this Republican lady to go right into attacking the Republicans. Who's the author on this one? Molina. That right there. Oh, and it was updated an hour ago, 2 hours ago, roughly. So, what can you say when the news does this? This is why I have a problem with the news media in general. It is so biased that you can't figure out what you're getting from them is true or not unless you go and cite other sources or unless you're willing to try and learn to read between the lines. Like I said, you going through that article, they use the first half to say, "Our heart breaks for this poor senator who was called a bigot," but, they did just, take our annual budget and rake it through the coals, and it passed it without so much as an input from our left side. And again, like I showed you in my video here, I am part of the left, but I'm a little bit more, what we call libertarian. But still, the point of the matter is, why even include that in the article when you're trying to have issue with Google about how they're representing your state representatives? Unless that's what you're trying to tie into, is that you agree with Google, but you just can't come out and say it that way. You know, I don't know much about North Carolina myself. I never been there. I don't live there. My only connection to North Carolina is my older sister there. But still, that is neither here nor there. The fact that your media, your journalists are doing this is just abhorrent to me. That you would that you would even that you would even consider this okay. I understand you're part of the Bible Belt and all that, and that your state does have more conservative values and therefore tends to be more Republican, more conservative. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I wouldn't even if unless I could prove that somebody was truly bigoted, truly held racist, sexist, bigoted beliefs, I wouldn't call them a bigot. And I sure as hell wouldn't take the time to write an article saying that the biggest search engine in the world did do that, unintentionally though it may have been, and then turn your story from that to, "Oh, by the way, you also happen to be a part of this issue that we want to discuss." No, that is BS. That is garbage writing, in my opinion. You know, my sister is an English major, not a journalist, but my older sister, I don't know if she would agree with me on that take, but I have a good idea what her political opinions are, what her political biases are. But at the same time, I also like to think that she's a little more fair than others, kind of like I am. But anyways, that's gonna be the end of the show for the week. It's sorry that it's so short or shorter and not on time this week. Just was having a little bit of fun with my wife and whatnot while we were while we had the chance to play some video games this weekend. And I also I took a lot of my own personal time yesterday to be on a few hangouts with people, and it was fun. And I look forward to doing it again next week. So, like I said, you can catch us here on podcast99.org, where you can listen to us live, which I hope you're doing right now. You can catch me here on Google at jbrown on Google, or you can email me directly at jpoliticspodcast@gmail.com, or you can contact me on Twitter at jpolypodcast, directly for the show. Also, check out Jared Pateau. That's JARED space. It's the space when you type it in to Google search BUTETOW. check him out, at least, if nothing else, for Friday for his Veterans Weekly Talk. We'll come up with a better name, I'm sure he will. And also check him out on Sci Strike, SciSearch, where we discuss science of flat Earth and creationism and stuff like that. So, it is one of those things. I'm ending the show badly, just as long as I started it today, apparently. But it is what it is. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoy your week, the rest of your weekend. And don't worry, Father's Day and Flag Day are just around the corner. Soon after that will be the 4th of July. Have a great weekend.